Good morning. Welcome to Home Built Workshop. Excuse me. I don't know what that was all about. Welcome to Wednesday Live. I hope all of you are having an awesome day. Awesome morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are in this great big world of ours. Welcome. Welcome to my little workshop. And welcome. Welcome to the live. Don't know what I was trying to say there, but anyway, I hope you're all doing great. As we get settled in here. Right on, right on. Everyone gets tuned in, settled in. Got my usual cup of coffee here as we hang out and talk about shop stuff and work stuff and all of the stuff that we always talk about. And we got Dallo here. Dallas here. Says Wednesday again. So fast. I know. It was just almost like we were just hanging out yesterday. And Dastardly Dave's here. Dave says, sup all. Sup, Dave? How are you doing this morning? Yeah, it's still morning for you. Right on, right on. Welcome. Cheers, everyone. Coffee's all I can do. What's everybody up to this fine day? Dello, how's your guitar coming along? Have you had a chance to do any work on it? And what's everybody else working on? What's on your workbench for the day? What kind of projects do you have in the works? We'll get to what I'm working on here shortly. You'll notice again, I had to bring the beanie back. Yeah, we've had a bit of winter here this last few days. We got a little bit of snow. Was it Sunday? I think Saturday night. This past weekend, got several inches of snow, and some cold temperatures came along with that. So, we're back to having to run some heat in here in the shop to keep the fingers from freezing up. Not super happy about that, but hey, I can't change it. So, it is supposed to warm back up today, I think. So I'm looking forward to that. But it's that time of the year here, so those are the things that, well, I guess we have to deal with. So you'll notice probably from here on out, I would imagine, I'm probably gonna be rocking the beanie. I hope you're warm and cozy wherever you are. Right on. Dave says, first dusting of snow last night here. But I'm deep into leaf season. Yes, it is. It is leaf season at the peak, I would imagine. Talking with some of my family back east over the weekend, most of the leaves are gone or down there, so they're on the ground. Here, we still have a fair bit of leaves still on the trees, although after this freeze we got in the snow over the weekend, they're gonna drop pretty quick, I think. But yeah, it's that time of year. So Dave, are you doing like leaf cleanup kind of thing? I don't do anything with my leaves. I usually just leave them on the ground and mulch them in with the mower, in the spring. Let them do their leaf thing over the winter. And Paul's here. Paul says, greetings and salutations. Good morning, Paul. How are you this fine Wednesday? Right on, right on. Paul, do you get snow where you are? We had some here. And Robert says, hi everyone. Just stepped away to wash my cereal bowl and fix a cup of coffee. Right on, Robert. Cheers to the coffee. It's good today too. Paul says, just fine, working. And yes, sometimes he gets some snow, mostly ice storms though. Yeah, it seems though I remember Something about ice, and you and you were on your bike or something. Sounds like a recipe for disaster. Neptunes is here. Neptune says hello, everyone. Neptunes, good morning. Dello says, last time I said I made some binding strips by cutting my neck blank. I made it about 1.2, 1.5, and it was too stiff to bend. 2 times broken, and third try was okay, but it didn't fit well. Was it because of the thickness? The height, thickness? You have to change some of that? Or do you need to change the size of your binding channel? I know when I did mine, I got a couple pieces here. Let me grab. I've got a couple scraps here of what I used for binding. What is the? How thick is this? Actually, I think I thinned this out a little bit from this before I bent it. So that's an 1/8 inch. Yeah, so I did not bend to 1/8 inch. 1/8 inch is, I got to look at my cheat sheet. Let's see. What is that? Oh, that's 3.1 millimeters. So this is thicker than what I used, and it's about 3. I'm looking at my cheat sheet. Sorry. Where is it? So this is about around 7 millimeters tall. Yeah, this was thicker than what I used. I thinned mine down. I'd have to get an actual piece, and I could tell you the measurements, but I think it was around the size that that you use. So 1.2 to 1.5. 1.5, yeah, 6 to 5 inches. That's a 1/16 of an inch. Man, I would have thought that would have been at 16. That's a 16th. Robert says to Paul, I would rather have snow. I 100% agree. I would take snow any day over ice. I cannot stand ice. I've had some scary commutes on ice, and it is not fun. Snow has its own set of challenges driving in, but yeah, ice is totally different. Paul says, so would I, Robert. So would I. The real Mike Johnson's here. Good morning, Mike. How are you today? Right on. Well, while you guys are putting in the chat section there what you're working on, I'll show you what I've been working on. You saw it in the last video. If you saw the last video over the weekend, look at that. The neck is bolted on. It's not glued yet. Nothing's glued in place. But I got the neck shaped in the last video, and now I am ready to finish flossing the neck joint here. And if you're not familiar with that step, it is where you kind of leave the neck loosely bolted, and then what I've been using, this piece of sandpaper, I'd put some tape on the back. You pull this up to where there's a gap in here, and you put the sandpaper in, and then you pull the sandpaper while putting a little bit of pressure on the neck, and it sands the angle of the neck to match the body. Or I shouldn't, yeah, it matches that contour, but depending on how you pull it, you know, if you can put it in this way, pull it out, and you can adjust the tilt both forward and back and left to right of your neck. And that's what I need to do. But before I do that, I got to make a bridge. So my order of business for today is to get a bridge made. Now, before I mentioned that I found some bridge blanks that I didn't remember making because I don't think I did. I do have some bridge blanks, but I believe that my buddy Thomas, who sent me some of the parts to build the first acoustic, included in that set of parts, but it's not the shape that I want to use. So I found the offcut of the bridge, the actual offcut piece to the bridge that I made. I feel like I can't talk. You guys ever have those days? I found the same piece of wood that I used to make the bridge on the first acoustic, which is Bolivian rosewood, same as this awesome fretboard. So I'm going to make a bridge out of that. I spent a good chunk of the day, well, yesterday afternoon, completely redrawing my bridge in 3D printing. Well, I ended up making 3 different ones so that I can make a bridge in here. This one's updated with the correct compensation for the saddle slot, so as long as I route the saddle slot in the same position here, I shouldn't have to do a whole lot of calculations. All I'll need to do is locate the bridge on here. That's a weird bridge right there, isn't it? But the reason I need to have the bridge is so that I can get it located on the body. Then I'll put a straight edge along the fretboard and be able to set the correct neck angle. Because I need to set it at a certain distance off of the top of the bridge. So I need to have the bridge in place before I can finish flossing the neck joint. I've gotten it close, but I don't want to go any farther until I have the bridge made. So I got to get that bridge done. That's today's project. I think I'm going to do a completely separate video on just making the bridge. That way, I don't know, maybe it'll be helpful for somebody trying to make just a bridge. So I think that's what we're going to do, just the bridge, and then we'll jump back into working on this. But man, it is cool. It is nice to be able to hold this actually all together. And I've actually had it, since it's been so cold, I've had it hanging inside just kind of looking at it. But yeah, I'm liking it. We're getting there. We're getting there. So bridge today, and possibly I'll get to setting the neck angle. And yeah, I would like to be able to, we're supposed to have a string of warm weather here. Well, it warms up today, and then over the weekend it's supposed to be even nicer. I'd love to be able to get the sealer sprayed on here by this weekend. That's kind of what I'm going to shoot for. Although we've got some things, prior engagements over the weekend that will take me away from some of this, but really, we're getting close to the finishing step. Oh, there's also sanding. There's also the sanding. I got a bunch of sanding to finish on here, but again, I want to get this neck angle set first, so that's the order of business for me. But it's at least together. All right, back to your comments here. I'm coming back. I didn't forget you. Mike says I'm good. Right on, Mike. Paul says, I've ridden on ice, definitely a harrowing experience. What I hate is black ice. Don't see it till you hit it. Yes, that is the worst. Ugh. One of the, and I'll get back, I got a little story snippet. One of the most nerve-wracking trips, driving times for me, at least in recent history, I've had a few, but was a couple years ago. Actually, I don't know, it might have been 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a little while, but we went back to Pennsylvania to see my family for Christmas. And we spent Christmas back there, and then we drove back out. Well, of course, December, you never know what the weather's going to do. Let me set this down. But when we drove out there, the weather was great. The drive was perfect. We ran into no winter weather or anything. When we left to come back, it was raining. And although we never ran into ice, the whole time the temperature was right at that freezing mark. And for the first, I don't know, like 10 hours of the drive back, it's a 27-hour drive. Probably the first 10 hours was, death grip almost, because you're worried you're going to run into some black ice because that temperature was right there, and that was not fun. Just because you didn't know it was rain, and then it would switch to snow, and then rain, and oh man, that was the worst. Oh, let's see here. Paul says working on the GGBO build. Man, I think I mentioned it last week. I've been seeing a ton of posts now for people working on their builds. So that's awesome. Paul says, very nice work, Jeff. Thank you, Paul. Dastardly Dave says, sweet guitar, Jeff. Robert, looking good, Jeff. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I'm definitely happy with it so far, and it's getting close. I've already started to get. I've already got the tuners. I ordered those last week. I've got saddle blanks, bridge blanks. I've got the finish. I think I have everything that I need to finish this up. I've got the fret wire. I got the bridge, of course, the bridge blank. I think I have all of the materials needed. So. Adela says, my first try was 0.16, second and third were 0.12. I'm not sure the species was Spanish cedar or mahogany, but it was not good with steam bending. That's interesting. I would have thought, especially mahogany, I would have thought that it would have bent well. I've never tried to bend Spanish cedar, so I can't really speak on that. And really, I haven't done much with bending mahogany, but I have seen quite a few times where mahogany will be recommended kind of as, as a, for some early builds. Like if you're early in the stage of building or you haven't done many builds, that mahogany is pretty good for that. So I'm kind of surprised that it's giving you trouble. And I don't have any insights at the moment as to why it could be giving you trouble. I wish I could give you a clear suggestion as to something to try. Are you using heat when you're bending it, or are you just steaming it and trying to work it around? Maybe a heat gun, to kind of get a little extra heat in there might help. I don't know. But I do know you'll be able to get it. You'll get it. If anybody has any good suggestions, drop them there in the chat. Neptune says, pulling my hair out with workers' schedules. I know those, especially this time of year when I was doing the whole corporate world thing. I was in charge of, partly in charge of a lot of the production and dealing with people not showing up. And this time of year, going into November, especially late November, we would hire so many seasonal positions. So you'd have, I don't know, 60, 80 seasonal positions, and just trying to keep track of so many people, it was ridiculous. KK's here. KK says, good evening from Greece. I wish everyone a good month. Let's be strong and smile. Jeff, be well, my friend. You and your family. Regards from me. Take care, brothers. Right on, KK. Thank you. Hope you're doing well. Say hi to everyone for us over there. And there's Harry Dude. Harry Dude says, what's up? Sorry, I'm late to the party. No worries, Harry Dude. It's all good. Oh, Harry Dude, you just reminded me, but you didn't intend to. But yeah, I remember you mentioned something about daylight savings, I think last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. Don't forget that here in the U.S. anyway, we have, I believe it's this Saturday night, we have daylight savings time So we're going to be moving up. Don't forget to move your clocks back 1 hour. So next Wednesday, we're still going to be at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. But for those of you outside of the U.S., our time is going to shift. So we're going to be, what is that? We'll be is that an hour earlier? I think so. So we got my least favorite day of the year, daylight savings in the fall. But just want to give everybody a heads up that, well, for both of you, all of you in the U.S., don't forget to change your clocks. And those of you outside the U.S., we're going to be changing our clocks. So try to remember that so that we can all still be here. Mike says, it seems it would be done the other way around. Neck set first and adjust bridge second. You could, I suppose, but the thing that I don't want to do, right? If I set this, if I continue sanding this angle, and and get it to, let me back up. If you did it first, you don't necessarily know exactly where you need to be, right? If you don't have a bridge, I mean, you could always calculate the height, I guess. If you know your bridge is going to be, I don't know, 9 millimeters tall or something like that, you could adjust that so that you're that, the proper height. I like to have the bridge, well, I've only done this one other time, and it seemed to work out well. I located the bridge once it was roughed out. Then I have a hard point that I can reference off of the fretboard. So what I'll end up doing is, taking the straight edge, actually that might be, I know I'm covering my face, that might be pretty close right there. Once I get the bridge shaped, it's kind of hard to hold everything straight, but it's close to where it needs to be now. I just like to have that bridge so that I know exactly where to stop. I'd hate to have too shallow of an angle and then have to lower the bridge or something like that later on. I'm sure there's half a dozen different ways you could do it, really, but I want to have the bridge roughed out first, again, because then it gives me a hard stop, or a specific point to measure when I'm setting that neck angle. I'm not saying one way's right and one way's wrong, honestly, because I've only done it one other time. So like I said, there's probably a bunch of different ways to do it, but that's the way I'm going to do it. I want to measure off of the actual bridge that's going to be going on the guitar, if that makes sense. James says, what is the fretboard made of? James, this is Bolivian rosewood. I believe it's also called Pau Ferro, I think. But Bolivian rosewood, yeah, this is an awesome piece. Of course, it's got the sapwood or grain variants on there. I just think it looks awesome. Also, this is regular. This is the same species of wood that I'm going to use to make the bridge. So, yeah, Bolivian rosewood, aka Pau Ferro, I believe. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. Paul says, if I build another acoustic, I have 2 sets of Brazilian rosewood back, sides, and fretboard in my shop. Got a buddy keeps trying to buy it. Have paperwork with it. Oh, nice. You got the CITES stuff. Right on. Mike says, looks awesome. Thanks, Mike. It's, like I said, it's awesome to be able to have it all in one piece that I can pick up and move around. TWIT says, hi all, greetings from Portugal. Oh, greetings. Welcome to Homeboat Workshop. How's everything in Portugal? That's awesome. Robert says, once when I was still working, I was supposed to go to what they called midwinter conference. They had a heavy winter storm the night before, traveled about 43 miles doing 20 miles an hour. Canceled the conference and I was stuck at my hands for the weekend. Well, at least you were stuck with family. Paul says, I built a steam box using wallpaper steamer, steam 45 minutes per quarter inch. Then I use a hand bender to do the bending with a spray bottle full of hot water to keep it wet. Sounds like a good. That sounds like a good process. Let me set this down. I haven't done any steam bending, at least not for guitar stuff. And Gina's here. Gina says, "Hello, all. I finally made it." Well, good morning. You made it. I'm glad you made it. Harry Dude says, "Hey, Gina." Della says, "Yes, so I gave up with only steam bending and used a big heat pipe on extruder, and it was not bad. Maybe next time I should go with 0.08 or 0.1. Yeah, definitely. I mean, thinner is always safer. Now, one word of caution, I guess. On my first build, let me pick this back up so I can show you. My first build, I used a little bit thinner binding. Now, I don't remember the specific measurements of the first one, but it was thinner than this particular binding. And the problem, some of it may have been due to inexperience, and maybe I didn't get things fit up as nice as I should have or could have. But with a thinner one, you know, if you have to do a lot of sanding, there is the chance that you could sand too much away from the binding. And I did that on the first build. Now, thankfully, I did not sand all the way through the binding, but there's a couple spots where, you know, along the edge, it got really thin because I had to sand a lot. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're using a thinner binding. Of course, you know, if it's thinner, you've got less material to sand. I'm not saying that, you know, don't use a thinner one, but that's just something that I ran into. I had to sand a lot, and it got kind of thin in a few spots. It still looks fine, but and really most of the time you don't even notice it. But it is something just to keep in mind. So try to, if you have, before you install the binding, make sure you get try to get as much sanded out of there as you possibly can to avoid having to sand too much once you put your binding on. Other than that, try it. You know, make up some thinner binding. Maybe use some scrap stuff and just experiment and see with, you know, check the fit. Maybe you can find some offcuts, you know, that you know, some kind of curvy offcuts and just practice. It might not be a bad idea. I know I did. I don't have my scrap piece. I did use a scrap piece of wood and I routed a whole bunch of binding channels in there and, you know, kind of practice the fit and stuff like that. But yeah. Let's see. Oh, Della says, and I forgot the spray bottle. James says, does walnut have sapwood on it? Yes, it does. The walnut, I think, looks awesome too with that sapwood. It's very similar to this rosewood. You know, a little different, but it tends to get a very light bit of sapwood on there, and I think that can look pretty cool depending on how you work it in your project. Yes. Mike says, guess I'm confused. It seems the flaw sanding is to make sure the neck is flush with the body and matching the curve at joint. Body seems flat, so it just seemed easier to adjust the bridge. You know, Mike, it's like I said, I'm not saying one way is, you know, this is how you have to do it. Because I don't believe that's the case. I think there's, you know, probably, you know, a handful of different ways you can do it. It's just, that's the only way that I know that I can get close to the thickness of the bridge. Now, there is some room to adjust the bridge, right? To adjust. I could take this down a little bit if I needed to. And really, once it's that close, it probably is easier to just take the bridge down than it is to strip sand or floss sand, because that is very tedious and time consuming. Um, but yeah, you know that you could probably do it both ways. The This is supposed to be flat up here, right at the top. You know, you sand that a little bit to kind of get it flat. So you're floss sanding it to get the joint tight, but it's also another opportunity for you to be able to adjust that neck angle if you need to. And maybe I'm explaining it wrong, and if that's the case, I I apologize. That's my bad. Um, but like I said, there's other ways you could absolutely do it, and I don't feel that my way or someone else's way is the only way. So Mike, I hope I've made that a little bit clearer than mud, but uh, Twit says rain, daylight savings time, a party. We got daylight savings time coming up this Saturday night. It's my least favorite day of the year. Mike says, take care all. Need to go to a meeting. Good morning, Gina. Robert says, good morning. Gina, good morning. Paul says to James, yes, you can get walnut with sapwood on it. Yes, yes, you can. It is cool too. Backwoods Boy, Small Engine says, hello, Homebuilt Workshop. Hello, all here in the chat. Hope everyone is doing great. Backwoods Boy, I hope you are doing great. What are you working on today? Got any projects in the works? Neptune says, hi, Gina. Backwoods Boy says, same to you also. Best of luck. Right on. Neptune says, sorry, Jeff, need to go. Everyone, have a great week. Hope to see you all next week. Right on, Neptunes. No worries, man. I know how things go. It's all good. I'm glad you could tune in for a few. And have an awesome week. Harry Dude says, why don't we see acoustic guitars with hardtail strap bridges? You know, I think I've seen one. It's interesting. But yeah, I think that would be an interesting project. I think you'd have to do something different with the top. You'd probably need maybe a different shape bridge plate inside, and you might have to use bolts, maybe because it's thinner, unless you put some sort of block in there. But then that's going to add a lot of mass to the top. It may not resonate like it's supposed to. I think if you bolted it, you know, some bolts and little lock nuts or something, that might work. Huh. I kind of like that idea. That'd be kind of a fun project. A lot of work to get to that step, but I think it'd be kind of cool. And it would totally it would probably push the buttons on everyone who builds acoustic guitars. Robert says, Neptune, stay safe and healthy. Gina says, have a great week, Neptune. Paul says, there are some smaller travel acoustics that use bolt-on necks. I think I've seen those. Yeah. Completely bolt-on neck. Actually, there are several builders that, acoustic builders that use a style of completely bolt-on neck, and I actually like it, and it's something that I kind of want to try. So mine has two bolts that go in from the sound hole into threaded inserts here in the heel. The total bolt-on acoustic necks have another block underneath the fretboard extension, so it's just under the top. And then it's basically designed so you have maybe some more bolts, like two more. Your neck, instead of just being the fretboard extension, is thicker, and it runs all the way back, or darn near all the way back. I'm not 100% sure, but it runs back quite a ways. There's actually sort of a neck pocket, basically, right here. So then this fits in like your tenon. The top of the neck fits in that neck pocket, which nests into the block that's glued to the inside. So instead of the neck block right here at the front, it's kind of a L shape. So you bolt it in here, you bolt in two from the bottom, and that's it. You don't have to glue down the fretboard extension or anything, which I really like that idea. And it's something that I think I need to try out. I like the concept of that. You don't have to worry about, any sort of, if you got to do a neck reset, you don't have to do anything. You just unbolt it and make whatever adjustments and bolt it back on. Actually, you could probably, I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't even just shim the neck like you might do on an electric. You might not get a good neck to body joint if you did that, but still, pretty easy to adjust. Paul says Taylor makes a bolt-on neck on some models, as does Kloss guitars. Yeah, and several other smaller builders, I think, as well, do that same kind of thing. Harry Dude says, I want to try out a Kramer Farrington acoustic. Electric style bolt-on neck with a Strat body style. So 80s, it's awesome. I actually kind of like the, what the heck does Fender call it? Is that the Acoustasonic? Is that the one that's kind of telly shaped or something? And it's like, I don't know, it's only a couple inches thick. Has a little, sound hole. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know about the neck on that though, but as far as shape wise, I think the shape's pretty cool. I'll have to look those up. The Kramer Farrington. I have seen some acoustics built, and I think they were factory made, and not by like a small builder or something. That uses, and I can't remember the name of it. It uses basically almost like a Fender neck. You have the same kind of pocket. It bolts on from the back with some sort of long, I don't know, bolts, screws, something, and from the front, it really doesn't look any different. It's only when you look at it from the side that you're like, whoa, wait, something's different. Tony's here. Tony says, morning, sunshine. Good morning, Tony. How are you today? Paul says, yes, both telly and Strat shapes. Oh, they made both. I've probably seen that, but. Heritage says, Fender Strat acoustic, Strat shaped acoustic, very much like the Kramer Farrington. Nice. Robert says, you could do the complete bolt-on neck and maybe cut a slot in the dovetail tenon under the neck, do away with the bolts on the bottom side. Oh, you know what? I know what you mean. I think. Cut a slot in the dovetail under the neck and do away with the bolts, so that it just went and slid in. It just slides in this way. I think if I'm reading if I'm understanding what you're saying. Yeah, you totally could do that. You wouldn't even need the heel, which might look weird, but it might not. Yeah, see, there's tons of ways that you could do, that you could do things. But I think, a lot of this stuff comes down to, well, that's how we've always done it. It might look funny without that heel on the neck, but maybe not. It definitely wouldn't be, quote unquote, traditional. But that's okay. Robert says, yes, correct. Yeah, you totally could do that. So it just slides in, a couple of bolts. So you basically would, interesting. So you'd basically move your tenon. Huh. The gears are turning. Instead of the tenon on the end, you'd have your tenon going this way, so that it just slides in a couple bolts into your neck block. Huh. I kind of like that idea. That'd be kind of fun. Now I want to try it. Now, if it wouldn't take me, you know, months to get another body back to this state, I would experiment a little bit. I gotta tuck that one away in the archives for for later on. Interesting. Paul says, my buddy Chris at Lame Horse Guitars has quite a complex bolting system for his necks. Uses the bolts for aligning and adjusting, as well as holding it on. I can't even fathom at this moment how you would adjust with the same bolt that holds on, unless you have some sort of adjustable collar in there. Interesting. That sounds like a cool method. Of course, I'm sure you've seen the like the Strats, maybe Tellys, I don't know, but I know Fender's done some that have an adjusting nut kind of thingy where you can, I think it lives under the back plate, maybe it's inside, I can't remember, but it has a threaded thing so you can adjust the neck tilt. Of course, that's not using the same bolts that hold it on, but it does have that adjustment built in. Robert says you could still have the tenon on the front as well for strength. Oh yeah, you totally could do that. Oh, you wouldn't even need. Yeah. You guys have got the gears turning. I like it. Paul says, Jeff, make your next acoustic build Home Depot wood. That would be interesting. I've thought about that actually. Just whatever I can find there. I've seen a couple projects done that way. Guitar projects, I should say, where I both solid body and acoustic. In fact, I believe Highline Guitars, I think, did one with, I don't know if it was Home Depot wood or one of the big box stores. He did a build from material like that. I think this is probably years ago. But then I've seen some others as well. And actually, one came up a few days ago, maybe a week ago, where someone built an acoustic from Home Depot, one of those stores anyway. It ended up, like, I was kind of excited to check it out, but it ended up being more of a kind of comical kind of production. And I wasn't really into it. It wasn't like somebody actually trying to actually craft a good instrument. They were just kind of goofing around, and they put something together, but it was kind of, it wasn't the kind of build that I would want to do, or at least try to do. But yeah, I think that would be a fun one. Maybe both, do an electric and do an acoustic. Also, I want to try building one. I've got a couple slabs of silver maple. And one thing I found about silver maple, I have no idea how good or bad it is for tone wood. But I did find that when I was working with that, let's see, what did we use that for? I built a canoe paddle out of it. I think that's what it was. I think it was an offcut from that project. I was flexing it, and it was incredibly flexible without even heating it. Like, I had a strip, and I wish I still had that piece. Where are those? I know I've got a piece or two of that around here. I wanted to show you. Now that I'm thinking about it, where are those? I don't know where they are. But I had a strip. Oh. No? I could almost bend it into a circle without even wetting it, heating it, or anything. And I'm like, man, I wonder if that would make good sides. And I kind of want to try it. So I might do that at some point too. Paul says, yep, saw Highline's build video last week. I think it was several years ago when he did that, but I could be wrong. Maybe he did another one and I missed it. Paul says, I'm part of an acoustic Luther group and always wanted to build a pine acoustic and take to the meetings to show off. Yes, that would be cool. I agree with that. I think you should do it. You know, everybody disregards pine as not a tone wood. I don't even like the word tone wood, but that's for neither here nor there. Um, but yes, I think that would be awesome. Build it out of pine. You know, even especially if you could get like some cool old growth kind of stuff, that would be pretty awesome as well. Yeah, I just think it would be neat. I'm all for building it out of non-traditional materials. You know, we all get, well, I shouldn't say we all. A lot of people get so hung up on tone wood. Um, but yeah, I think pine would be awesome. I've got some beetle kill around here. I wonder how the grain is on that. It might even be quarter sawn. Hmm. Dallas says, "Does it look cool?" Uh, Pine? Is that pine you mean? Um, some of it looks really cool. I think if you're talking about pine, um, some of the beetle we have what's called beetle kill pine. We have these beetles. I don't forget what they're called, but they get into the wood and they leave this kind of bluish green kind of stain in the wood, and I think that looks really neat. Um, and I think that would be kind of cool actually if you use that on an instrument. Oh, he said silver maple. I mean, oh, sorry, my bad. It's just it looks like maple pretty much. I don't have a scrap of it here, but it just looks like maple. Hang on, don't go anywhere. You guys talk amongst yourselves. Hold on, let me grab something here. Hang on, I'm just grabbing a couple examples, the nearest examples I could find, and I did find a piece of the silver maple. So this is a piece of it, and I don't know what's the thickness on it. Let's just see. So this is at 85 thousandths, right? So perfect thickness for bending sides. Watch it, it's just gonna snap in an instant. Let's just see. It hasn't been wet, hasn't been heated. I'm trying to not fold it exactly in the middle or have it snap and smack me in the face. Look at that. Will it touch? Will it touch without snapping? Yes. Look at that is not heated, steamed, wet, or anything. Isn't that? I think that's cool. I mean, you could almost bend a whole set of sides without doing anything. And look, at the moment, it might straighten out some more, but it's still kind of holding that holding that shape. I think that would make a really good set of sides. I think well, obviously it would bend really well. I mean, I just think that's cool. I mean, to me, that's pretty impressive. And Dallo sees. I mean, it's just a white mapley type wood. The only other thing that I have at the moment that's made out of it is that canoe paddle I made a while back. That is silver maple. I mean, it's pretty. This one in particular is pretty straight grain. You can see a little bit of curl in there, but this one in particular is not super um, figured or anything. But that's just got an oil-based finish on there. I know the color's a little weird on here. There, maybe you can see that a little better. It's just to me this looks like maple for the most part. I think it would finish well and look nice. Robert says, I saw a guitar build a couple of years ago made from high-grade plywood, cut and glued on the edge, and it made a herringbone style. Looked cool, but heavy. Yeah, it does sound cool. Paul says, and Matthias built a ukulele out of Home Depot type wood. I feel like I've seen that one. He says, my biggest seller body wise is made of pine. I love pine. Honestly, a lot of people discount it, for just kind of don't consider it a usable wood, but it totally is. I think. Dallas says, why isn't it broken? I don't know. That's just what's weird. I mean, it's super flexible. I haven't even heard a crack. Well, actually, no, never mind. I thought it was just a crack starting, but it was just a fuzz, like it from being cut. Robert says, I just wonder if silver maple is that supple if it'll sound good. Be worth a try for sure. And Robert, that's exactly my thought. I have no idea. I'm not saying it's going to sound great or anything like that, but I mean, as far as working with, it's one of those, hand strength exerciser thingies. I'm just impressed by how bendy it is. And this is, look at that. Somebody will probably, I don't know if somebody's used it. I'm sure somebody has, but I haven't, so I kind of want to try it. Oh, there's. I got a little carried away there, but I mean, you saw how much bending that thing took. I was gonna see if this. I don't know if this is quarter sawn. I think it's flat sawn, just by looking at the grain on there. Actually, you know what? I think it's even cut this direction with the grain. I think that's probably why it's broken this way. I can almost see how that grain is going like this. But yeah, Robert, I don't know either. Sound wise, I just know bending wise, it seems pretty impressive. But I think I want to try it. I got to figure out a way to be able to cut some of these larger pieces up. And yeah, just bend up a set of sides. Paul says 90% of my bodies and builds are made from woods that look better unpainted. I love the character. Biggest selling guitar I make is from recycled pallets. I love pallets. I haven't done anything with pallets in a long time. When I used to work in town, the whole corporate deal, I had access to pretty much as many pallets as I wanted. I don't quite have that same access now. But yeah, pallets are fun to work with. They're a little bit of a pain sometimes, mystery wood and chemicals or whatever, but yeah, you can get some cool looking stuff. The hair dude says, will it hold a shape if it's that flexible? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I don't know. And maybe that might be a negative, but I have enough curiosity about the ease of bending it that I want to try it and see. I don't know. You might pull it out of the bender and it just goes whoop, back to fat or flat and floppy. But I'm curious, and I think I'm gonna have to experiment with that. I really don't know. I don't have that answer, but I'd like to get that answer. And that's the fun part, right? Trying stuff that you've never tried before, just to find out what it does. It may turn out to be fantastic. And then I'll wish I had more of it. But I don't know. I really don't. And there's Sam. Sam says, sorry I'm late. UK clocks changed. Ah, the old daylight savings. I was mentioning earlier, Sam, ours here in the US changed this Saturday night. So we're going to go back an hour. So next week, we're going to be an hour back. Maybe we'll be back on, maybe we'll be matched with you. I don't know. But just heads up, time change here in the US is this weekend. Robert says, I also saw someone make a guitar out of reclaimed sugar pine from a building over 100 years old. It was much tighter grain than any pine we can get nowadays. I think material like that would be great. Dallas says, recycled pallets? It sounds cool. Yeah, it really, Dallo, it does have a cool look. You almost get kind of a, I'm sure you've seen like barnwood type of look. Yeah, a lot of times you can get a similar type of look, kind of a um, weathered look, um, worn kind of look. You know, sometimes nail holes and stuff. It does look pretty cool. Dallas, sorry, Sam says you start at 3 p.m. UK time now rather than 4 p.m. Dallo says maybe the silver maple could be good for double side. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, that might be kind of cool actually. I don't know. It's something that I want to experiment with for sure. It's when I'll get to it, I don't know, but I am going to do it. I want to try. The hardest part for me right now is getting to mill this stuff down because I don't have a very big bandsaw, so it's kind of challenging. I got to use who knows what for cutting it down, uh, especially since my local hardwood place is no longer. I used to take a lot of slabs and stuff there to have things, straight line ripped. They had an awesome straight line saw and, a lot of other resaw capabilities. And I don't have access to that anymore. So I gotta get creative and maybe have to do some resawing with the chainsaw mill. I don't know. But we'll get it figured out. Gotta try it. Robert says silver maple should hold its shape once the top and back are glued on. And that's the thing, right? Once you get it bent, clamped into the mold, and run your curved linings in there, I have no reason to think that it's going to lose its shape. Really, I mean, maybe you might have more spring back, but I agree that once you get it lined, especially if you used a solid lining, and with a material that bends this well, why couldn't you just use this for the lining? I don't know. Sam says if you're going back 1 hour, then you'll stream at 2 p.m. UK time. So Sam, did you move forward an hour? Do you move forward in the spring or in the fall? That's interesting. And if that's the case, that's something I didn't know. Harry, dude, I know you guys changed. You changed recently too, didn't you? Do you move forward in the fall or back? See, this is another thing. I've said it a million times. One of the reasons I love this platform where we can just hang out. I get to learn so much about other parts of the world through you guys, and that's awesome. Robert says if you wanted to do a guitar with a cutaway, silver maple might be the way to go. Yeah, I think you could probably bend the whole thing without even heating it. I would still probably heat it, but yes, I do want to make a guitar with the cutaway for sure. There's so many things, so many projects, as I'm sure you guys all have as well. So many things that I want to try. It's just getting time to try all these things. Can't try them all at once. So yes, once I get this one done, I don't know. Maybe I'll experiment with some of this. Maybe we'll build a cutaway. Maybe I'll build that 8-string baritone that I've been wanting to build. Sam says, I think so. So you go forward. Huh. Dallas says, okay, my first Venetian cutaway will be silver maple. I just, there's something to me that's impressive. If you do that with something else, there's no way that's going to bend. And that is, like I said, 85 thousandths. That's side bending thickness, right? 85, 90 thousandths, thereabouts. And you saw how far that bent. Harry Dude says, we just went forward 1 hour, so your stream now starts at 2 a.m. rather than 1 a.m. Oh, you know what? Because you're going into summer. So you're on the spring ahead. We're on the fall back. Oh, now I get it. Now I get it. It all makes sense now. Because you're springing ahead. That's what we say. Spring ahead, fall back. That's how you remember, right? You spring ahead 1 hour in the springtime and you fall back 1 hour in the fall. But you're in summer, so yeah, so you would go ahead. But Sam, you're in the UK. You're not in summer. You're going into winter, but you still move forward. See, this daylight savings time, it needs to go. Just keep us all in the same time. It's ridiculous. Sam says, make a guitar-shaped bike. I mean, that'd be interesting. Robert says, you might need to try a few different species of silver maple. Not all of the wood may not, or may be that flexible. Agreed. I agree with that statement 100%. I had one large silver maple log 2 years ago, year ago. I can't remember, that I sliced up into slabs with the chainsaw mill. Most of it's gone. I sold a bunch of it, but I've used a couple slabs myself. But I have one full big slab that's got a pretty bad cup in it. But there's a lot of material there. It's about for a maybe 9/4, something like that. So 2 2.25 inches. It might even be 2.5. So it's pretty thick. And then I've got a little offcut, smaller offcut that actually came from this project. This canoe paddle, if you remember that. That's made out of silver maple. The pieces left from that. So I don't have multiple trees or species to test from. All I have is this sample. But to me, it's enough to start the testing. Robert says, agreed about the daylight savings time. They should just pick a time and not change it anymore. Yes. I don't know. The thing that drives me crazy is we can't make any change about that, right? They don't care what we think. That's all I'm going to say about that. I hear so many people that say the same thing, but yet we keep doing it year after year after year. Just pick one. I'd rather it be on the summertime one, but honestly, if they decided to leave it on the wintertime one, but they just said we're done with it, I would be okay with that. It's just annoying. Can you tell I don't like it? Rant over. That's it. Let's move on. Wow, we're actually coming up. We're actually past the hour. Dang, time flies when you're having fun and hanging out with good friends. Sam says, could you do emergency orchestra instrument repairs for a company? I don't know, Sam. I don't know anything like orchestra. I don't even know what all that would be. Is that like wind instruments? If it was wind instruments, absolutely not. I don't know anything about them. But like violins and stuff, I've never worked on any of them. I mean, maybe emergency, like you said, if someone's needed something done last minute. I don't know about that. I don't feel that I'm qualified to to do that. Paul says, got to get going. Everyone have a great week. Right on, Paul. You too. Have a good one. We're going to wrap this up here in just a few anyway, because I got a bridge to make. Robert says, split the difference on time, half an hour, and leave it. I like that. That is my favorite idea ever. Just say, well, we're gonna move it by half hour, and that's now the time. I like that. Split the difference. That's the best idea I've heard yet. Yes. Wouldn't that'd be so nice? Now, how do we make that happen? Who's going to listen to us? Sam says, you could be president for next term. I still probably couldn't make it happen. As I'm just sitting here playing with this. Look at. Oh, that's kind of hard, but man, look at that. Look at that. Oh, rats. Ow. They kind of snapped me. Sorry, piece of wood. Robert says, tell your congressman. Yeah. think it'd need a whole lot more than me, though. That would just be nice. That's just every year I got to get that off my chest and rant about that for a second, and now I'm done with it, and I'll accept it and move on. Because, but I wish we could get rid of it, really. But anyway, guys, I think it is time to wrap this up because I got a bridge template here and a bridge blank here that need to be made into a bridge. I got to get after it so I can keep this acoustic guitar build moving along. Adele says it looks like plastic. That's kind of what it feels like, just being able to twist and bend, and it's totally not plastic though. I guarantee you that. I mean, well, you just saw it snap, but that's why I'm so impressed with it, and I want to explore. I want to explore it a little more. What we can do with this wood. Is it good? Is it bad? I have no idea, but I want to find out. Right on, guys. Sam says, "You legend. Be safe, everyone." Right on, Sam. You be safe too, and all of you. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button before we sign out of this thing. And yeah, Robert says, if they would run with stopping the time change, most likely they would win at least one term. You know, I agree. I'm gonna. Yeah. Anyway, I think you're probably right. Harry Dude says, catch you next week. Stay well. Right on, guys. Thanks a lot. You guys all have an awesome week. Get on your shops or whatever and make some cool stuff. Play those instruments if you got them. Dust them off, even if you haven't played them in forever. They need to be played if you play. If you don't play, that's cool. But get out to working on stuff, making things with your hands. Get outside, get some fresh air, all that good stuff. It's all good for you. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate all of you and look forward to these every week. You guys have a great rest of your week. Stay safe, stay well. And until next time, we'll see you next time. Take care, guys. Thanks again. We'll see you later. Oh, hit the button. Oh, we're back to this again. I'm still trying. Later, guys.